Our detached home market here in Calgary has shifted. A few years ago, a new build in that $500,000 range was normal, but that doesn't exist anymore. We recently chatted about the detached housing market here in Calgary, but I already have an update for you, and depending on what side of the market you're on, it might be good or bad news. I'm Dawn, Realtor with Real Broker here in Calgary. I've been selling real estate since 2015, and if you're making a move, I would love to help you. You can book a call with me in the description below. Now, if you find any value in my video today, I would love for you to subscribe. And lastly, if you want to buy or sell a home and you feel like you have more questions than answers, you can also find my guides in the links below to get you started. May just delivered some intriguing news for the Calgary real estate market. Sales totaled 3,092 units, almost 1% below last year's record high, but still 34% higher than long-term trends for the month. Now, remember that April sales were 2,881, so we're still experiencing more sales than last month, and our sales numbers to date are still 11% higher than last year at this time. The lower sales numbers last month compared to last year are due to that pullback we saw in sales of the detached and semi-detached homes due to the lack of supply in lower price ranges. You can't buy what's just not available. So as far as sales go, it's so important to look at it relative to longer term history, and we're running around 30% higher than longer term trends compared to other jurisdictions who are running below longer term trends. So our market here in Calgary is outperforming. Now, these other markets such as Toronto and Vancouver didn't experience the slowdowns like we did in 2015 and 2019. If you're a buyer, you might be thinking like, great, I'm trying to get into the market and it's getting more and more unattainable. And really the only positive spin I can put on it is to get in where you can. I discussed condos being a good option in this video, wherever they're linked, and ride that wave of prices going up until you can sell for the move-up home. But demand here in Calgary is still very strong, and that's the key thing to point out. Demand is not changing that quickly, and it's supported by fundamentals. It's supported through job growth and supported through population growth. That's going to continue throughout this year easily. We also have pent-up demand. So think about it. In multiple offer situations, when you have 10 to 20 bidders, not everyone can secure a home quickly. So it's going to take some time to see all these people get into the homes that they want. To my earlier point, this all hinges upon the amount of homes available to purchase. So last month, we saw new listing numbers improve. New listings in May reached 4,333 units, which is almost 19% higher than last year. And this increase in new listings compared to sales caused the sales to new listing ratio to drop. So now only 71% of homes that came to market in May sold. You might remember that last month, this was at 83%. But despite this, inventory levels remain nearly half of what we typically see in May. So most of the gains in inventory are coming from homes priced above $700,000, that $700,000 range. So we're seeing shifts in the upper end of the market. We are seeing supply growth for those detached homes priced 700 plus, a million plus. And although the majority of the demand is not in these higher price ranges, our strong economic situation here in Calgary has supported sales growths in these upper ranges. But with less demand, that's why you're starting to see those inventory levels rise. Where we're seeing the biggest struggle is the most affordable end of the market. We just don't have a lot of supply choice there. Our detached home market here in Calgary has shifted. A few years ago, a new build in that $500,000 range was normal, but that doesn't exist anymore. Now they're in that $700,000 range, and unless builders can find a way to build them cheaper, we're likely not going to see growth happening in those more affordable price points. Even with this increase in new listings, last month, Calgary's inventory was at 3,402, which is 1.1 months of supply, meaning it would take just over 1 month to sell everything if no new homes came to market. This is up from last month, April, that was at 0.94, so it's less than a month, and up from last year at this time at 1.03. So it's great to see this number trending in the right direction. It's giving buyers out there a little more choice and opportunity to actually get into a home, but this is still very much seller's market territory, and I think it will be for quite some time. Inventory levels, months of supply, sales to new listing ratio, it's all great information, and ultimately it all affects what we actually really want to know, and that is price. What does it cost to buy a home here in Calgary right now? You know, and as we know, it all depends on what style of home comes to mind for you. Some folks, it's no question a detached home, and others, they wouldn't consider anything other than an apartment. It's really all about affordability and or lifestyle choices. So I'm going to dive deeper into each segment in my next few videos, so if you click on the bell, you'll be notified when I post the next one. Overall, the total residential benchmark price for May was $605,300, and this is 9.5% higher than last year and almost 1% higher than just last month when it was $603,700. This is where we're either seeing this being depressing and kind of devastating or amazing, and it all depends on which side of the coin you're on. I can understand that being a buyer in this market is tough and it can be kind of sad, but if home ownership is your goal, I personally think it's a smart one. Just know the road ahead is not without bumps, but it's possible. And for many of you, it's certainly achievable. So if you're in a position where you don't feel like you'll ever get there, just meet with a mortgage broker. You actually might be closer than you think, and it never hurts to ask for help in terms of how to plan and save accordingly for when that day comes. Just please don't lose hope. If you're a seller right now, you might feel like you're kind of walking on water, and I hate to be the one to bring you back down to earth, but if you're not moving out of the city, you need to be prepared for the buy side as well, and expect that a lot of those gains on your sale will go towards the purchase side. You're not going to end up all that much, potentially. Each year, we tend to see a slowdown somewhere. Not every month is typically better than the last consistently throughout the year. But overall, I do see home prices going up for a while still. Yesterday, the Bank of Canada cut rates for the first time in more than 4 years by 0.25%. So the new overnight target rate is 4.75%. And the change will not immediately impact affordability, as fixed rates are still much lower than variable rates. And anyone who needed to qualify at a lower stress test was looking at a fixed rate mortgage anyways. But with bond yields decreasing in response to the rate cut, we may see some additional movement in fixed rates in the coming weeks. So fingers crossed. When rates first started to go up though, I had a lot of buyers that were like, you know what, I'm just gonna hold off. I'm gonna wait until rates go down. And in theory, you get it, right? Interest rates rise, therefore decreasing spending, home prices should go down. But here in Calgary, we had so much demand that didn't happen. As I mentioned, the total residential benchmark price was up nearly 10% over last year. And then going back to last year, we were up 2.6% from the year prior. So that's when interest rates kind of started to increase. So clearly, this wasn't the best idea for those buyers at the time, but hindsight is 20/20, and I think we'll have renewed buyer confidence now that the rates are going down, and hopefully kind of push some of those people off of the fence and back into the market, which does mean more competition. Obviously, I talk about the market here in Calgary, and I will say I love this city. As a child of a military parent and Army brat, you know, this is the longest place I've ever lived, so I might be biased. I did move away and come back, so I lived in Edmonton. So if anybody's moving to Alberta, I definitely have my personal preference of the two, but I'm not trying to convince you to move to Calgary if it's not the right fit for you. Calgary's fickle, right? Like, we have snow in the summer sometimes. We have drastic temperature swings in the winter. If you've ever had a Chinook headache, you know what I'm talking about. It's not a long growing season for our gardener friends, and sometimes summers are super smoky and it sucks, but sometimes they're not, and it's lovely. Winters can at times, though, be -40 with the wind chill. And despite the growth in labor force and the number of jobs added, the participation rate is down and unemployment rates are up. Recent data from Stats Canada shows it currently takes approximately 20 weeks for an unemployed person to find a job in Alberta. The Calgary Census Metropolitan Area, CMA, and Toronto CMA currently have the highest unemployment rates across major Canadian cities for the month of 2024. It is not all roses here. I'm not naive to think that Calgary doesn't have its faults, but where can you live that's perfect? Seriously, tell me in the comments. I want to know. But what I will say is, whatever magical place that is, there's going to be a number of other people that wouldn't live there for X, Y, and Z, right? Like, you can't please everybody. And I'm not making videos for everyone to agree with me. I'm making them to share my experience and my insights into the market and maybe help you buy or sell if I can. But I read the comments and all the shit things people have to say about Calgary, but hey, no one's forcing you to move here or to stay here. And tell you what, we don't want your shitty attitude here anyways. Are you curious about the numbers or need more insights? The latest stats from the Calgary Real Estate Board are linked below. If you have any questions about buying or selling, or to discuss how these trends affect your specific real estate goals, book a call with me. I would love to hear from you, and I'll see you soon.